You think that seating chart you see on your screen when you book a flight is a map? It's not a map. It is a psychological weapon. It is a sales funnel designed with one specific purpose: to panic you into paying $50, $60, maybe $100 extra for a seat that is mathematically identical to the free one 3 rows back. I watched a woman last week. Let's call her Sarah, board my flight to London. She had paid $75 for preferred seating. She walked past the free rows, puffed up her chest, and sat down in 14C. You know what 14C was? It was right next to the lavatory. For 7 hours, every time that door opened, she got hit with the smell of blue chemical water and the sound of a vacuum flush that screams like a jet engine. She paid extra for the privilege of not sleeping. Meanwhile, a savvy guy in row 25, who didn't pay a dime extra, had an entire empty row to himself, because he knew how the algorithm works. If you don't know the rules, you are the victim. I'm Benny. I've spent 15 years wearing a uniform at 35,000 feet. I have worked for major carriers, budget airlines, and charters. I have cleaned up things you don't want to know about, and I have upgraded people just because they looked me in the eye and treated me like a human being. I know where the air is freshest, where the ride is smoothest, and where you are statistically most likely to catch the flu today. I am going to declassify the seating game. I'm not giving you generic advice like check in early. I'm going to hand you the keys to the castle. We are going to talk about the ghost row technique, the hidden button that changes your life in an aisle seat, and the specific lie airlines tell you about exit rows. By the time this video ends, you will never ever look at an airplane cabin the same way again. Let's start with the biggest scam in the industry, the seat map illusion. When you log in to buy a ticket, you see a sea of gray, occupied seats, and a few blue available ones. The blue ones usually have a price tag. The middle seats in the back might be free. You look at that map, and your brain tells you, wow, this flight is full. I better grab whatever I can, even if I have to pay. Here is the secret. That flight is likely half empty. Airlines block huge percentages of seats for operational reasons, or for elite frequent flyers, or simply to create artificial scarcity. They want you to feel the squeeze. They want you to think that, if you don't drop that credit card for an upgrade now, you're going to be stuck in the middle seat between a linebacker and a crying baby. But here is the trick every senior traveler needs to execute. It's called the T-24 shift. The moment check-in opens, usually exactly 24 hours before departure, the algorithm resets. The blocked seats that were held for elites, who didn't book, or for families that didn't show up, suddenly get released into the general pool. I have seen flights that look sold out on Tuesday, look wide open on Friday morning. So, here is your protocol. You book the worst, cheapest seat possible initially. Don't pay for anything, just get your ticket. Then, set an alarm on your phone for exactly 24 hours before the flight. Not 23 hours. 24, log in the second that window opens. Suddenly, you will see aisle seats in the front of the economy cabin, seats that were premium or blocked yesterday, available for free. I had a passenger, an older gentleman named Arthur. He told me he used to pay for upgrades on every flight because his knees were bad. He spent thousands a year. I told him this trick. He told me later that on his next 4 flights, he snagged an aisle seat in the first 5 rows of economy, just by waiting for the 24-hour reset. He saved enough money to pay for his hotel in Paris. But let's say the flight is actually full. You're stuck. You're looking at a middle seat. Do not accept defeat yet. This brings me to the poor man's business class strategy. This requires a partner. But if you fly solo, I'll tell you how to modify it in a second. If you are traveling with a spouse or a friend, never ever book the window and the middle. That is amateur hour. You book the window and the aisle in the same row. Leave the middle seat empty. Here is the psychology. No solo traveler in their right mind selects a middle seat voluntarily. It is the last seat to go. If the flight isn't 100% sold out, that middle seat will stay empty. You get the whole row to yourselves. You can stretch out. It's glorious. Now, I know what you're thinking. Benny, what if someone comes? What if the flight is full and some poor soul gets assigned that middle seat? Then you are the hero. You simply look at them and say, "Hey, would you prefer the window or the aisle? We'd like to sit together." Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to fight you to stay in a middle seat. They will take your aisle or window offer in a heartbeat. You still sit together. But you gambled for the extra space. There is zero downside. If you are flying solo, you can still play this game. But it's riskier. You book the aisle in the back third of the plane. Why the back? Because seats fill from front to back. The ghost rows, the completely empty rows, are almost always in the last 5 rows of the aircraft. I see people terrified of the back of the plane. They think it's bumpier. They think it takes too long to get off. Let me tell you something. The extra 4 minutes it takes to deplane is worth the 6 hours of having a poor man's lie flat bed because you got an empty row of 3 to yourself. Now, before I get into the hidden button trick that will save your mobility, I need to address a serious issue. If you want to fly like a pro and avoid the traps that ruin vacations before they start, you need to subscribe. I'm not holding anything back on this channel. I'm giving you the manual they don't hand out in flight school. Hit that button so you don't miss the episode on luggage chicken coming next week. Alright, let's talk about the hardware. If you are a senior traveler, or just someone who values their circulation, you know the struggle of the aisle seat armrest. You land, the plane taxis to the gate, everyone stands up, and you are trapped. You can't swing your legs out because that armrest is locked down. You have to do this awkward shuffle, twisting your spine, trying to slide out. Or worse, during the flight, you want a little more hip room, but that metal bar is digging into your side. Here is what the manufacturers don't label. That armrest is not permanently fixed. Feel around the underside of the armrest, right near the hinge where it connects to the seat back. There is a tiny recessed button, or a small metal latch. It's almost invisible. You have to feel for it. Press that button, and boom! The aisle armrest raises up. I cannot tell you how many times I have walked down the aisle and seen a larger passenger or a passenger with hip issues suffering in silence. I walk over, click the button, raise the armrest, and watch their entire face change. They look at me like I just performed a magic trick. It gives you an instant 3 to 4 inches of extra space. It allows you to pivot out of the seat without twisting your knees. It is a game changer for anyone with limited mobility, yet airlines never announce it because they don't want people blocking the aisle with their limbs during service. Know the button, use the button. Now, let's get a little darker. Let's talk about the dirty side of the plane. You think the cleaning crew cleans your seat? Listen to me closely. We have turnarounds that are sometimes 20 minutes. We are lucky if we pick up the newspapers and cross the seatbelts. We are not disinfecting that tray table. We are definitely not wiping down the window shade, but there is a pattern to the filth. Statistically, and from my personal observation, the window seat is the germiest surface area. But the aisle seat is the most dangerous for exposure. Let me explain. The window seat wall is where everyone rests their head. I have seen people drool on that plastic. I have seen people pick pimples while leaning against it. If you book a window seat, do not. I repeat, do not. Rest your head against the wall unless you have wiped it down with a serious disinfectant wipe first. However, the aisle seat is where you get crop dusted. Every person walking to the lavatory grips the top of the aisle seat for balance. Hundreds of hands. Every time someone sneezes while walking down the aisle, the particles drift down onto the aisle passenger. And the service cart? That metal beast has banged into more elbows and knees than I can count. So what is the sweet spot? If you are worried about turbulence, sit over the wing. A plane acts like a seesaw. The nose and the tail move the most. The center of gravity is the wing. If you get motion sickness, do not let an agent put you in the back. Fight for a seat over the wing. But if you are worried about noise and air quality, sit as far forward as possible. the air flows from front to back. The freshest air is in the cockpit and first class. By the time that air cycles to row 35, it has been breathed by everyone else. It's filtered. Yes, but it's warmer and staler. Now I want to talk about a specific trick for long-haul flights that I call the special meal hack. This isn't about the seat itself, but it changes your experience in the seat. You know the drill. The cart comes out. Chicken or pasta? By the time they get to you, they're out of chicken. You're stuck with the gummy pasta. You eat late. You can't sleep because the trays aren't cleared for another hour. Here is the veteran move: pre-order a special meal. Asian vegetarian, low sodium, gluten-free. It doesn't matter. Why? Because special meals are served first. While everyone else is waiting for the cart to slowly inch its way down the aisle, you are already eating. You finish your meal before the main service even reaches row 20. This means you can put on your eye mask, put in your earplugs, and go to sleep a full 45 minutes before everyone else. On a 7-hour flight to Europe, that extra 45 minutes of sleep is the difference between jet lag and feeling human. And, let's be honest, the Asian vegetarian meal is usually better than the mystery chicken anyway. It's usually curry, rice, and fresh vegetables. It's lighter, which helps with digestion at altitude. Now, I need to address the exit row trap. Everyone wants the exit row. Ooh, extra legroom. Be careful, be very, very careful. First off, many exit row seats do not recline. The seats in front of the exit row definitely do not recline. If you are in the first of 2 exit rows, your seat is likely locked upright so you don't block the evacuation path for the row behind you. You are trading legroom for a broken back. Also, the exit row is often freezing. The insulation around the emergency doors is thinner than the rest of the fuselage. At 35,000 feet, the outside air temperature is -60 degrees. If you are sitting next to that door, you are going to feel a draft. I see people in shorts in the exit row shivering for 6 hours. If you book that seat, bring a hoodie. But there is a bigger secret about upgrades that involves the gate agent. Most travelers try to charm the flight attendants for an upgrade. They bring us chocolates. We love the chocolates, don't get me wrong. Bring us Starbucks, and we will treat you like royalty. Maybe give you free wine or extra snacks. But we cannot move you to first class. We don't have the computer access to do that once the door is closed, and usually, the manifest is locked. The person with the power is the gate agent. But you have to know how to ask. Do not go up and ask, "Are there any free upgrades?" The answer is always no. Instead, use the helper strategy. Go up to the podium about 45 minutes before boarding. Look for the agent who looks the least stressed. Smile. Say this: "Hi, I'm in seat 24B. I know the flight looks full, but if you end up needing to move people around for weight and balance, or to accommodate a family sitting together, I'm a solo traveler, and I'm happy to move. I'm just letting you know I'm flexible." You have just handed them a solution to a problem they haven't solved yet. Gate agents are playing Tetris. They constantly need to shuffle people. By volunteering to be a movable piece, you put a marker on your file. If they need to bump someone up to premium economy to make room for a family in the back, guess who they are going to pick? They are going to pick the nice person who said they were flexible, not the guy yelling about his carry-on bag. I've used this myself when flying standby. Being the easy passenger is the ultimate hack. Let's talk about the pillow scam. I see so many seniors traveling with those U-shaped neck pillows. You know the ones, you buy them at the Hudson News for $40. You put it around the back of your neck. That is wrong. You are wearing it wrong. When you sit in an economy seat, the seat pushes your head forward. If you put a thick pillow behind your neck, it pushes your head even further forward. Your chin drops to your chest, your airway constricts. You wake up with a stiff neck and a headache. Turn the pillow around. The gap should be at the back of your neck. The thick part should be under your chin. This supports your jaw. It stops your head from bobbing forward when you fall asleep. It keeps your spine aligned against the seat back. It looks ridiculous, I admit. You look like you're in a medical brace, but you will sleep, and you won't wake up feeling like you wrestled a bear. Better yet, stop buying those foam donuts. Get a trifold pillow, or honestly, bring a scarf. A thick wool scarf is the most versatile travel tool in existence. It's a pillow, it's a blanket, it's lumbar support. You can roll it up and put it behind your lower back to maintain the natural curve of your spine, which is the #1 thing that prevents back pain on long flights. Airline seats are C-shaped. Human spines are shaped. The seat is trying to break you. The scarf saves you. I want to pivot to a topic that makes people uncomfortable. The bathroom strategy. You are 65 years old. You take a diuretic for blood pressure. You know you need to go. Do not book a window seat. I don't care how nice the view is. The anxiety of having to wake up two strangers every time you need to use the lavatory will ruin your flight. You will dehydrate yourself on purpose to avoid the hassle. And dehydration is the enemy of jet lag and DVT, deep vein thrombosis. Book the aisle, but specifically, book the aisle in the center section of a wide-body plane, like a 777 or a Dreamliner. Why the center section aisle? Because the person in the middle seat has two escape routes. They can climb over you, or they can climb over the person on the other aisle. You have cut your chances of being climbed over by 50%. And if you are booking the aisle, look at the map. Do not book the row right in front of the lavatory. People congregate there. They lean on your seat, they bump you, and the light from the occupied sign will flash in your eyes every 30 seconds. Book at least 5 rows away from the toilets. Now, let me tell you about the secret cargo hack for your luggage. You are worried about bin space. You are stressed that you'll have to gatekeep your bag. Here is the truth. The bins in the front of the plane fill up first because people from the back throw their bags in the front bins as they walk past. It's selfish, but it happens. If you are boarding late group 4 or 5, do not look for space above your designated row. Look for space as you walk. If you see a spot in row 10 and you are sitting in row 30, take the spot in row 10. It is not against the rules. But Benny, you say, then I have to swim upstream to get my bag when we land. No, you don't. You wait. You sit in your seat until the plane empties out. Then you walk forward, grab your bag comfortably, and leave. Unless you have a tight connection, rushing off the plane saves you exactly 3 minutes at the baggage claim carousel. Relax. Let the type of personality stress out. You are a pro. You sit, you wait, you stroll. I want to leave you with one final psychological tip that has nothing to do with physics and everything to do with humanity. The flight attendants are the gatekeepers of your comfort. We control the temperature, to an extent, the extra snacks, the drinks, and the enforcement of rules. If you want a better seat, if you want that empty row, acknowledge us. I had a flight last month, terrible turbulence. Everyone was grumpy. A woman in 32C, an older lady, reminded me of my aunt, stopped me as I walked by. She didn't ask for a drink. She touched my arm gently and said, "You guys are doing a great job in rough air. Make sure you sit down if it gets too bumpy." That was it. She treated me like a person, not a servant. 10 minutes later, I went back to the galley. I checked the manifest. I saw we had an empty premium economy seat with extra legroom that had a broken entertainment screen. I walked back to 32C, I whispered. The television doesn't work, but the seat is like a recliner. Want to move? She moved. She slept like a baby. The secret airplane seat trick isn't just one button or one booking hack. It's an ecosystem. It's understanding that the system is rigged against you, but it's operated by humans. Use the 24-hour rule to snag the elite seats. Use the poor man's business class booking strategy to gamble for space. Find the hidden armrest button to save your hips. Wear your neck pillow backward and treat the crew like allies, not enemies. Flying doesn't have to be a torture test. It can be the start of the adventure. But you have to take control. Stop letting the airline dictate your comfort. I have so many more stories about what happens behind that curtain. Things about the coffee water, the blankets, and the real reason we dim the lights for takeoff. But that's for the next video. If you learned even one new thing today that's going to save your back or your wallet on your next trip, do me a favor. Hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that we need to share these secrets with more travelers. And tell me in the comments, what is your absolute worst seat nightmare? I read all of them, and I might feature your horror story in my next breakdown. Fly smart, fly safe, and for the love of God, keep your socks on. I'm Benny. I'll see you in the sky.